He raised his glass first. "To smart investments," he said. His family laughed, the sound bouncing off the restaurant's gold-painted walls. I smiled because I'd learned that silence was sometimes the only armor left. "The money for this dinner," he added, his grin slick, "is from the cabin sale. At least one meal is covered." That was the moment, the one that divides your life into before and after. I didn't say a word. I just watched him, his hand resting over mine as if it hadn't just burned everything I owned. Backstory. Before we built that cabin together, or at least that's what I believed, he called it my little project. He said it like it was cute, not real. But I'd bought the land with my inheritance, filed the deed under my name. I'd spent weekends staining wood, planting lavender by the porch. It smelled like peace back then. When I met him, he was charm and confidence wrapped in a cheap suit. He made me laugh, made me believe I was seen. I mistook attention for love. But over the years, the laughter changed shape. It started sounding like mockery. Discovery of betrayal. The first crack appeared in his calendar, an entry labeled property meeting. He said it was for work. I didn't push. Later, when I checked our shared bank account, there was a deposit, $60,000. He said it was a bonus. I knew better. So I waited. Patience has a certain flavor, metallic, bitter at first, but strangely empowering once you learn to swallow it. I found the contract 3 days later. My signature, perfectly forged. The buyer's name, the lawyer's letterhead. Everything looked official until you looked closer. My middle initial was wrong. The notary seal was smudged. He sold my cabin without me. He used my name to erase my home. And that night, when he bragged about it in front of his family, I realized something he hadn't yet. I was already gone. Shift in mindset. I didn't scream. I didn't pack. I just began. First, I copied everything: emails, bank statements, contracts. Then I contacted the county clerk's office to verify the deed transfer. It hadn't cleared yet. That was important. The buyer's lawyer was still processing the paperwork, so I made a call. I introduced myself as Mrs. Carson, the actual owner of the property that had just been sold. Then I sent the lawyer a copy of my real deed and the proof of forgery. His voice dropped 2 octaves mid-call. "We'll handle this," he said. I believed him. But I didn't stop there. While the lawyer panicked, I reported the fraudulent sale to the Property Bureau and the police, attaching every piece of evidence. I didn't accuse my husband by name. I let the system do that part. Then I waited again. Execution of the plan. 2 days later, he came home cheerful, humming like a man who thought the world bent for him. He handed me a receipt for a new TV, bought with the cabin money. "You should see it as a blessing," he said. "You were never really using that place." I remember thinking, that's what you said about us, too. The next morning, the call came, not to me, but to him. I watched from the kitchen as his expression cracked like old plaster. "Authorities?" he repeated, blinking hard. "At your office? What are you talking about?" It was the buyer's lawyer. He'd gone straight to the police. My husband's face drained. He looked at me then, suspicion crawling behind his eyes. "Did you do something?" he asked. I sipped my coffee. "You're the one who sold the cabin, remember?" He didn't answer. The next week was a slow-motion unraveling. His accounts were frozen for investigation. The bank flagged the $60,000 transfer. His bonus story collapsed. His boss found out. Turns out, being under investigation for forgery doesn't look great on corporate staff. By the time the authorities showed up at the door, I was already packed. Climax. He followed me out to the driveway. Rain was pouring, thin and steady, the kind that erases footprints. "You set me up," he said. I turned to him.
"No," I said quietly, "you did." His voice broke then. "I can fix it. I'll tell them it was a misunderstanding." "It was," I said. "You misunderstood who you were dealing with." The flash of the police lights painted his face in red and blue. I didn't stay to watch them. Some moments don't need witnesses. Resolution. The cabin's still mine. It sits at the edge of the lake, quiet and still, like it always was. I go there sometimes to think, to remember what silence sounds like when it's no longer fear. He tried calling me once, from county jail. I didn't answer. Some stories don't need epilogues. People ask how I managed to stay so calm. I tell them the truth. Anger is loud, but revenge, real revenge, is silent. It doesn't scream, it waits. And when it finally moves, it moves like justice, clean, inevitable, and absolute.